Live and Baton Rouge proud. You're watching Local 33 News at 10.
In the 5 years I've been governor, I don't believe I've had a press conference where it was my intention to convey the sense of urgency that I am trying to convey right now.
A grim message earlier today from the governor as we all await Hurricane Laura. Good evening, everyone. I'm Chad Sabady.
And I'm Carly Lang. Thank you for joining us tonight. All eyes, of course, are on Hurricane Laura as we brace for impact. We're going to give you a look right now at the I-10 bridge in Lake Charles. This was from earlier today. Some are concerned that this bridge may not be able to sustain the storm.
Portions of I-10 are now closed tonight with flooding coming soon. On the eastbound side at the Texas-Louisiana state line and westbound is also closed west of the Atchafalaya Basin. Chief Meteorologist Jesse Gunkel has been following the storm all day long. He joins us now with the latest details on the forecast as Hurricane Laura will soon make landfall in really just a few hours.
Yeah, right now you're kind of looking at landfall most likely within the next 2 to 3 hours, probably between midnight and 1 a.m. As you see here, it's now just a few miles off the coast at about 30-40 miles from the coastline. As you see, it sits about 75 miles from Lake Charles. Lake Charles sits here, so we're talking just around Holly Beach over here, maybe towards the city of Cameron. And as you notice, this is a massive eye. It is large. We're looking at hurricane force winds now extending about 60 miles from the center. There's a huge wind field. We're looking at tropical storm force winds extending over 200 miles from the center, and you can see some of those stronger bands now starting to get very close to the coastline. We're starting to see water levels rise in a lot of areas. Water already over Holly Beach as we speak, and notice again, we're going to wait for that eye to eventually push its way inland, probably again within that next to 2-hour range. So here's that current track as a Category 4. Most likely it looks like the overall pressure has become steady at this point, but still very strong, just on the verge of a Category 5. We're looking at sustained winds at 150 miles per hour with some gusts up to 185, heading north-northwest now at 15. So again, there has been a gentle jog towards the east, not much, just a matter of miles, and overall the eye could wiggle a little bit. It starts to wobble as it gets a little bit closer. Main thing is it may wobble just a hair, and that means our impacts will increase slightly moving forward. Category 2 storm now looks pretty intense, still about halfway through the state around Toledo Bend, then driving past Shreveport as a Category 1, and then quickly racing through the Tennessee Valley, eventually back out into the Atlantic as we make our way into the weekend. But the key here is watching some of these outer rain bands, and if it sets up like this current situation, we could be in store for a very long night. Heavy torrential rain that could lead to flash flooding, and obviously the risk of more tornadoes, much like we saw this afternoon.
All right, Jesse, thank you. Well, out in Ascension Parish, they have a long history when it comes to flooding. NBC Local 33's Kara St. Cyr takes us out to Pierre Par, where residents are bracing for the storm.
Assumption Parish may not be directly under Laura's eye, but they're just close enough to the coast for the people here in Pierre Par to worry about what could happen next. Just down southeast Louisiana's coast, a fisherman is hoping for the best and bracing for the worst.
Rita, right before she hit landfall, she decreased, and this one don't look like it's going to check up.
Daryl Doyle is nervous about the incoming weather, but his boat means as much to him as his own life. So he left his home in Zachary and decided to wait out the storm right here in Pierre Part. It's dangerous work, but it's worth it for what he calls his pride and joy.
That's my life, my dream.
Water moving up the bay is a sign to Doyle that the bad weather is coming. When it moves up from the south like this, it means there's a slight chance the bay where his boat is parked could flood, or that the winds could blow his boat off the rigs. Doyle says the water in the bay has already risen a couple inches.
Just pray for the best.
Joe Gode has lived on the bay for 84 years. Every time there's a hurricane, he gets a little tense. He tries to keep confident that it'll all work out. But in the meantime, his boats are tied, and so is his house. All Pierre Part has to do is wait for the worst to be over.
Got to deal with what's dealt to us.
Kara St. Cyr, NBC, Local 33 News.
Gode and Doyle say the rest of the neighborhood is ready for a heavy rain, any heavy rain that could be coming their way.
While many are trying to get out of the path of the storm, first responders are heading toward it. Earlier today, the Louisiana State Fire Marshal welcomed responders from all across the Gulf region as they prepare for potential search and rescue operations. This specialized caravan will team up with others, first in Lafayette and then headed into areas most impacted by the storm.
But we brought in numbers of almost 300 additional responders from across the country who specialize in this urban search and rescue effort. And it's going to be hard because many of our past searches that we've had to do, buildings were completely damaged.
And Butch Browning says the caravan is equipped with enough supplies to be self-sufficient for several days. The energy industry continues to suffer this year, and now with this storm crossing the Gulf, even more in danger. Just about every rig in the Gulf of Mexico has been evacuated. Companies are also shutting down refineries in the storm's path. Many had already done so even before Tropical Storm Marco, though it's unlikely the U.S. will suffer major oil or gas shortages.
Well, Hillary Simon from our sister station in Birmingham was down in Baytown, Texas tonight as the city sits under evacuation orders.
We're in Baytown, which is about 30 to 45 minutes east of Houston, and this is an area under a voluntary evacuation order, meaning people here aren't forced to leave, but of course strongly encouraged due to the fact of how close they are to the Gulf of Mexico. But here at this marina in Baytown, there are people who are actually staying the night here. Those who I spoke to say they have been through several hurricanes, and due to what they know about hurricanes and where Hurricane Laura is, they feel safe in this spot. Also, traffic-wise, as you can see over that bridge, not a lot of traffic going on, even those going to Houston, and especially, of course, people who are headed towards the Beaumont, Lake Charles area. That's the area that's expected to get the biggest impact from Hurricane Laura. But that's the latest here from Baytown right now, as we are anticipating for Hurricane Laura to hit very soon. In Baytown, Hillary Simon, CBS 42 News, local coverage you can count on.
Well, a number of agencies are getting ready to respond. The Coast Guard, they have units continuing to prepare for a storm response across the coast. The Coast Guard urges everyone to stay off the water, evacuate as necessary, and secure boats or move them inland. All boats that can be pulled from the water should be stored away from potential flooding.
East Baton Rouge parish leaders on high alert tonight with Hurricane Laura about 100 miles from the coast. Teams at the Mayor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness are closely monitoring the storm. Search and rescue crews are also on standby tonight and could be deployed early tomorrow morning. Power crews are also staging at the Sam's on Segan Lane. In the capital area, United Way has set up a call line for anyone feeling anxiety due to this severe weather threat. If you need assistance, just call 211.
And while Governor John Bel Edwards anticipates there will be some rescue missions, he says those in Lake Charles should have already left the area. Time, of course, is ticking. There are concerns heavy winds will topple buildings and storm surge will leave major highways, including parts of I-10, underwater. The governor says this is not a storm that people in its path should try to ride out at home.
It's preying on every weak point of any structure, any weakness in any tree. And it's continuing and continuing and continuing.
So people need to heed the warnings they've been given and to evacuate.
Now, the governor will hold a news conference tomorrow at 1 p.m. We will have that live right here on NBC Local 33. Also today, Governor Edwards extended Phase 2 restrictions for another 2 weeks. That includes the statewide mask mandate, bar closures, and social gathering limits.
Over in Livingston Parish, officials are keeping a close eye on the Amite River as well. NBC Local 33's Abby Roach spoke with the parish president about his growing concern.
The Amite River is prone to backwater flooding.
That's the kind of things that you worry about, especially in these water events with this south-southeast wind blowing like it is.
Even if only a few inches of rain fall, the storm surge is more likely to cause any flooding.
Lake Marpaw's already risen 2 feet just from Marpaw, hadn't had time to recede yet. Now we're going to start getting these bands from Laura coming through. We worry about that kind of stuff from the Lake Marpaw pushing into that area, and then of course the Amite on the southern end.
James Bell says this hurricane is bringing back bad memories.
Well, of course. I mean, remember the 2016 flood. I mean, I remember dragging trailers out that road on the side of the A-Meet right there. The old people are living down there.
Bell says in the spirit of Livingston Parish, he knows people are ready to help others.
All we need to do is make sure we look after the older people, and there's plenty of us to do that, so they'll be fine.
The parish president says those who have lived along the A-Meet have been there a long time, and they know how to prepare probably better than anyone as long as they are able. Abby Rocha, NBC Local 33 News.
And of course, we'll have another look at the forecast very soon as Hurricane Laura is expected to make landfall in the next few hours. Still to come here tonight, refugees finding high ground tonight as well. We'll speak with some who are now praying for their homes and their safety.